Hey y'all. Welcome back to my channel. If this is your first time visiting, welcome. Please look at the other content. If you enjoy the other content, please be sure to hit that subscribe button. And for my returning subscribers and visitors, welcome back. I'm glad that y'all are here again with me. Today we are going to try to wrap things up with the crafts and combos casualty of a con videos that I started, and I'm not sure how long this is going to last. If it lasts too long, I will break it up in parts, but this is the beginning of part 4. Okay, so I had to do a little bit of praying about this because I just wanted to make sure my heart was in the right place and that I was being more helpful to people who may be currently going through this, and they can see what it can look like on the other side of what you are going through. Okay, so I prayed, my heart is content, and that is why I am moving forward with this, with my story, because we, in the end, we have to own our stories, and that is the only way that we can help someone else. I am being as open as possible. This stuff is, the stuff I'm sharing is not really favorable. Like, the stuff that I'm sharing, it's not a glamorous life that I was living. um yeah, but guess what? You don't have to be embarrassed, and you don't have to be ashamed of anything that you have gone through, even if you're the perpetrator. So once you have owned it and you have made amends with what has happened to you or what you have caused, you can release that shame and disappointment and move forward. That's the only way that you will be able to move forward in a good space. By the second year of our marriage, my eyes were wide open, and I started kind of distancing myself from what was going on around me, mentally and physically. Like, I stopped going to different churches with him. It became very, very draining, and I just started feeling like a hypocrite. Like, I'm in the car with you while you're talking about the people of the church that we're going to preach at, and then you get in their face and you're smiling, you're ready to collect that money. So I just had to back off. I couldn't go, and I know that people were looking like, oh well, his wife isn't coming with him. I mean, I did not know what else to do, and that's what I chose to do because I just could not, I couldn't deal with that. And it was really disheartening seeing people who genuinely love him and genuinely care about him just being fooled by him. So also, in the second year of our marriage, I decided to get my master's degree. It was an accelerated program, meaning the entire program was crammed within like a 10 to 12 month time frame for completion. And so that added a little bit of extra stress on me. And with me being the only parent home, I was the one doing a lot of the pickups, a lot of the drop offs, going to the open houses, going to the parent teacher conferences. That was all on me, in addition to working a full time job. So I kind of really started just focusing on the house and what we have going on. In addition to that, we had the church. So we moved from out of having services every Friday night at a hotel to having church. Another church let us borrow their church every Sunday for about an hour and a half, 2 hours. So we moved from the hotel to a church for Sunday morning services. So it was a lot going on, and I was in charge of the church financials. Moving forward to the following year, it was decided that they were going to throw a pastor's appreciation. And when I went to the meetings for it, I voiced my concern that they wanted to have a full month of pastor's appreciation we only had about 10 to 15 committed members, and maybe about three of those members, three or four of us were tithers. So that for me, I was already like, a whole month service for the pastor who doesn't tithe and give. We're going to do like, if you guys are not giving to God and tithing or even giving offering, I just didn't feel comfortable accepting money, especially in that capacity. If it was outside of church, okay. But inside of church, like, you kind of sell yourself, or you sell your soul when you do things like that. At least that's my opinion. I don't know, because y'all know they were saying that I wasn't saved and I had no power and all this other stuff. So I maybe I just don't know. Well, it came to my attention that the mother tells me, when I said we don't need a whole month, she says, well, this is what Bishop wants. So that let me know there that they were having outside conversations that did not include me. And clearly he was expressing his wants and desires to her. So I stepped away. I said, okay. However, I was not really engaged in what was going on. And I did not want to go to the church services every week where you have 8 members and you're every service you're trying to pull as much money out of them as you can. If you feel like your pastor needs money, then your pastor needs to get a job. That's what he needs to do. He needs to work. What does the Bible say that about a man who doesn't work? Okay, so that was the pastor's appreciation, and so that kind of caused a little bit of extra tension in the house and at the church, because I went to church on Sunday mornings. I was still wrapping up my degree, and I was just overworked in every capacity. So I was not going to go to every service. Well, one of those services, the mother invited a minister or prophet or evangelist or something with a title. She invited her to come to the church to preach at the church. So she came and she preached at the church. I wasn't there that time because I probably was getting a paper done. I don't know. Then, okay. Well, I find out a few months later, so the mother stopped going to the church, and that was fine. She always had these bouts where she would be in and out of church. She would come if she would get mad, and I always just figured that it was because of me. She was upset because of me. And she decided that she was going to take one of her hiatuses, which I learned that, I don't know, but from what I understood, she was sick. So after that, there was supposed to be this round table that we were having. He had let one of his god sisters host this event, and that's another thing. Y'all let these people do things within the church, and they're not even a part of the church. They don't do anything for the church, but you're letting them host things in the name of the church. I don't understand this, but nonetheless, this woman was supposed to come back. The mother had secured her to come back and be at the round table. Well, I guess that was them assuming that I wasn't going to be there, because, of course, nobody thought that, oh, maybe First Lady really does have things that she has going on. They just thought that I wasn't going. So they were supposed to have this event. The mother wasn't there. And so the event was still supposed to be on. And so I told him, I was like, I'm going to the round table. I'm available. I don't have any school going on. I'll be there. Y'all, he calls me back, because it was the same woman that came for the pastor's appreciation. He calls me back and he's like, I just went ahead and canceled it. Don't worry. I just went ahead and canceled it. I'm like, you canceled it? Like, how did, oh no, I just went ahead and canceled it. So I just said, okay. At that time, I didn't think nothing of it. However, now looking back at the person who he's married to, that is who he's married to. And I'm like, okay, at that time, because I had no clue. So moving forward, we finished the year out. We were super distant. There were other lies that came up during that time. with him. And I just said, you know what? It's okay. He's lying. Let's see how this is going to go. He refused to go back to counseling, and I just dealt with it. I did whatever that I needed to do, however I needed to do it. So January comes around. I'm still asking him about the mother. He's saying that he doesn't talk to her. He doesn't know. She's this, she's that. And the stuff that he was saying was completely contradictory, because even at that time she had gotten so involved with my stepdaughter and different things, and I'm like, how do you just like X people off like that you're dealing with them? And he was upset. He did not even want to talk about her at all when I would ask questions. So January was her birthday, and so I sent like a little edible fruit basket to her just to say happy birthday and we miss you and that sort of thing, because I had no idea what was happening. So moving forward, we go to an event. This is February. We go to an event on Saturday, and that Saturday it's an event about relationships and that sort of thing. And he was giving advice about relationships. We're there together, and no, I'm not going to show y'all the video. I don't want to be messy. So we have this event that we're at, and he's talking about relationships or whatever. Okay, everything's, Sunday comes around, and we get to the church, and guess who's at the church? The mother. And she, after the service, she comes up to me, oh, First Lady, it's so good to see you. I heard you haven't been feeling well. I've been under the weather too. And I'm like, how you heard that I haven't been feeling well? Who told you that? And so she's just telling me, and she's clearly something's going on with her. She has a cane and everything, so something was going on with her. And so she's talking to me for a little bit, and she's telling me, oh, I want to continue serving you guys. But y'all, honestly, when she was at the church and serving us, because she had to make sure that she was the only one who served us, y'all, I stopped drinking anything that she put down. I stopped eating anything that she put down for me. Like, I didn't know what was going on, but I knew something was going on. So I was not eating or drinking anything that she set down for me. So after that, he comes to me and he's like, oh babe, we're gonna go to dinner, and we are one of the members, this couple that we were counseling. And on another note, the way he did this couple, and these are people who are tried and true to him to this day. Well, my eyes were open a few months prior, because we were in the car and leaving church, and the mother comes to the car, and him and her have this laugh about the couple and the situation that they were going through. And I look at him and I'm like, first of all, that's not okay. Two, that is not funny. And three, have you been talking about their business to her? And he says, oh no, babe, no, I would never. I didn't talk about anything to them. Maybe the wife told her. I think the wife must have told her. So I'm like, okay, if that's what you say. But again, that was another case where God was showing me everything that I felt, everything that I thought, that it wasn't in my head, that this was some legit crazy stuff going on. So Sunday evening, he's like, we're going to dinner with this couple. And so I'm like, you have money? And he's like, oh no, babe, don't worry, because they're treating us to dinner tonight. So I'm like, all right. So we go to dinner and we're eating. He's talking about how, oh, we're about to be empty nesters in about 3 to 4 years, and my baby likes to travel, so we're going to be traveling all over the place and X, Y, and Z. So okay, we're talking, and I get up to go to the restroom. Dinner's done. I go to the restroom. I come back, and y'all, the check is in front of me. And so I'm like looking at him, and I'm looking at the check like, because that wasn't what he originally told me. So I'm like, okay. But of course, I don't want to make a scene in front of the church members. And I'm like, you know what? Let me just go ahead and pay. So I went ahead and I paid for the dinner. So I asked him, I thought you said because we could have eaten dinner at home. And he's like, oh no, well, when you got up, he told me that he didn't really have it, or, because you didn't want to go to Golden Corral. I hate Golden Corral, y'all. I'm sorry. But you didn't want to go to Golden Corral. And so we did. And I'm like, well, I would have went to Golden Corral and just sat there and talked. I didn't have to eat their food. So nonetheless, I ended up paying. The next day, I had taken off from work because I had to go to the cancer treatment center for one of my biannual checks that morning, and it usually lasts all day. One of the church members called me and they're like, First Lady, can you give me my contribution statement? So I'm like, yeah, sure. Let me hurry up and do it now before I leave because I don't know how long I'm going to be gone. And I go in, pull up the church's cash app to see how much she gave to make sure that it matches the numbers correctly, just to double check. Y'all, when I pull up the cash app, it pulls up his personal cash app. And I'm like, how did his personal cash app get on this computer? Because it's a computer that he never uses. Pull it up. Y'all, just that past Sunday, like that day before when I paid for the dinner that I really didn't want to go to, um, the mother and her granddaughter had sent him almost $300 at that church service. Didn't put nothing in the offering plate because I kind of see the offering and everybody would write their names because I wanted to make sure everybody got the credit for what they were giving. And I'm looking and I'm like, you told me you didn't have money, but they just gave you like about $300 yesterday. And then I go back and look further at the history, and all this time that he had been talking trash about this lady, all this time he told me that he hadn't spoken to her and he was just done with her. All of this time, all of those months, this lady had been giving him money nearly every week, sometimes multiple times a week. This wasn't just during that period, but this had been going on for a while. Pretty much, I think maybe the whole time that she came to the church. And then I just started getting even more angry, like the way you use people. Like you was just talking about this lady to me, and then you this whole setup with me paying for the dinner. So I go, of course, to confront him, and I'm like, hey, he was in the kitchen, and I'm like, hey, you told me that you hadn't been talking to mother so and so all this time. Oh no, babe, no. I said, well, she was at the church yesterday, and you didn't know she was coming. Oh no, I had no idea she was coming. I was like, you sure? Because how you don't have any idea that she was coming when she showed up with your mom? Like how you didn't know that? Oh, and then he starts looking. I said, you told me you hadn't been talking to her this entire time. You told me you were talking about this lady. And then I see that she's been giving you money every single week when you tell me you hadn't been talking to her. And y'all, I'm not talking about like $20 here, $30. I'm talking about money. And so he's like, oh, well, you don't tell me every time that you get money. And I'm like, I don't have to because you know when I get money. I get money every 2 weeks via a paycheck. Okay? So I'm not getting money from any and everybody. I'm not asking people for money. You want to be the one who always, I receive, I receive, I receive, but I'll never see you give. You give nothing. And then he says, oh, well, I guess I could just call mama because you don't trust me or this or that. And I'm just looking at him. And then so I say, you have me thinking at that moment, I knew at that moment, everything was like right in front of me. Like nothing was blurred. I could see so clearly. And I'm like, all this time you have me thinking that it's the members of the church. It's definitely that mother of the church. It's the kids. It's the members before, the members that you had before you even moved down here. It's this or that. These are the reasons why certain things are happening. And all the time. And before I could finish saying it, and I was like, all this time it was, and he was like, it was me. And I just look at him and like, I just can't even understand. So at that time, I'm like, listen, I gotta go. I have to go till Sylvester, I'll be back. So y'all, I leave and I come back. And when I get back home, he he tried to leave before because he's such a coward. He tried to leave before I got back home. But the way God works, God is not going to let his people be used and abused and mistreated. He's going to look out for you. So I leave and I come back. And he's trying to walk out. He's about to walk out the house. But of course I come. And so I'm like, he had, there were some people here helping him move. He had signed the kids out of school early. And so I came. I'm like, hey, y'all, hey, y'all, what I'm going to do? Like, so I walk in and he's looking at me because he's scared. He's scared. And so he's looking at me and I'm just looking at him like, first of all, y'all, I had no idea how this was ever going to happen. I had no idea how he was going to get out of my life. I can't say that I am for divorce. I do think that when you make a union, when you make that type of commitment in front of God, that is something that you should work hard in making sure that it is successful. You're not just promising something to one another. But I didn't know because I didn't have the heart to really do it, and I definitely didn't have the heart to put the kids out. Like, if he wanted to, he could have just left me with the kids and went about his business. I mean, that's what he's doing now anyway. So, but I come in and he sees now he's shook. And so he's like, oh, um, these weren't my intentions. And so I'm like, these weren't your intentions. Well, if these weren't your intentions, then this would not be happening. Like, this whole relationship would not have gone the way that it went if these were not your intentions. So, okay, then he follows me into the room and he's looking there shaking because he shakes when he's, I don't know, he just be shaking. And so he comes in the room and I look on the dresser and he has taken the church card. And I'm like, where's the church card? Oh, I got it. What you need it for? You don't need a church card. Give me the church card. Oh, this is my business. And no, it's not your business. This is God's business. And until my name gets off of everything attached to the church's money, you will not hold a church card. I don't walk around with a church card. You will not walk around with it. And so he's looking at me. And by this time, he already knows, like, there's certain people you play with. It's the ones who are usually calm and sweet and just, not saying anything that you should not bother. So he pulls out that money clip. He hands me the church card. Well, no, he didn't hand me. He placed it back on the dresser and he proceeded to leave. So he wanted that church card, y'all, because there was $19,000 in both of the church's accounts. And he could not wait to get his hands on that money. And so because of that, that kind of prolonged him being able to touch the church's money. So that is pretty much how he left. After that, I continued going to the church because I hadn't done anything wrong. Like, I hadn't done anything to him. So I was like, I'm going to the church. Like, I love these people at the church too. Like, they've been riding with me and like, I'm gonna go. Like, no, you're not gonna force me into not going. So I went every Sunday until the divorce was final. All right. So that's gonna be it for this particular part of part 4. There is going to be a continuation because you definitely need to know like how I overcame the rest of the story. I thought the whole marriage was crazy and everything that was happening within the marriage. But I don't think I was really prepared for what happened after the actual divorce and when he left. So I got to get some work done because I'm about to go back to work tomorrow. Well, virtually for now, but winter break is over and I really need to get prepared for my class and I have some orders that I need to get out before Monday. So that's it, y'all. That's it for today. again, if you know anybody who is going through any traumatic situations, if their behavior has changed, if they seem more withdrawn, please try to show your support for them. It may be small, they may not want any help, but the smallest thing that you do, maybe it's just dropping by to say hi, call first, or maybe it's just a phone call, maybe it's a text, okay? So please make sure that you reach out to people who are going through different situations. And if you notice something is strange, just lend that support. All right. So part 4 continuation will be out very soon. I pretty much have other parts already recorded. And yeah, so that's it for today, y'all. If you enjoyed this video, please like this video. Also, please subscribe to my channel if you're not already a subscriber. And more than welcome. But that's it, y'all. Until next time.